We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire. Here to talk UFC Philadelphia from the city of brotherly love. We have a card full of violence, headlined by Edson Barboza taking on Justin Gaethje. We are at the end of a string of 11 fight cards in 11 weeks. Got a week off after this, but I am looking forward to this card. Top to bottom, it's a pretty solid card that I think the main card especially is great for DraftKings, and we're going to dig into it. I am your host, the Daily Fantasy Sniper, joined as always, well, almost always. Chris Olsen is back as always, and Joe Sunsu is returning, gracing us with his presence, the one and only Pooh Bear. As we all know, he's back with us to talk UFC Philadelphia, a card he's going to. So I'll start with you, Joe. How excited are you to watch this main event?
Well, first of all, let's just back up a little and say that you have to admit that if of any card this year to miss, last week was a really good card to miss.
I cashed the hell out of that card. It was great for me.
I was at a bachelor. I played one lineup. I was at a bachelor party in Vegas, and I watched half the fights on mute on my phone. So that was a great card for me to miss. I am actually going to Philly for this, which is cool. I'm going to be driving down tomorrow. It's about a 2-hour drive from where I live. What I like about this card too is it's a 3:30 start, so it'll be over by 10 o'clock, which is great. I'm not even going to stay the night. I'm just going to drive home. I am excited for this main event. I think it's a great DraftKings fight. I definitely have a strong lean one way. I've had one since the fight was announced. So I'm looking really forward to, although I do believe that, you almost have to be close to all in on this fight. So anyway, we'll cover that later.
Chris, another week. I think me and you, we've made every leg of this 11 card stretch. Are you looking forward to a break here?
I'm looking forward to a little recharge, but I'm also looking forward to this card. I mean, I don't want to look forward to the break too much. Love the main event, obviously, but there's some other things. I like the return of Sodiq Yusuff. Always good to see him coming back. I like. Personally, I'm a Gerald Meerschaert fan. Good to see him on the card. Good to see Ray Borg back. So there's a lot of things to be excited about on this card, and yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Let's get to it.
All right, before we dig in, guys, a little bit of business to take care of. Podcast is brought to you by RotoWire. Go to rotowire.com/free. 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. From daily fantasy to season long to MLB to NBA to MMA to soccer. They have it all there. rotowire.com/free. You can follow all of us on Twitter. I'm at the DF Sniper. Chris is at Real Chris Olsen. Joe is at Sunsu. You should like, comment, subscribe to the pod. We record these live on YouTube on Fridays. Fun group and chat. I always got to give those guys a shout out. The crew in there is great. You should join them if you're listening after the fact. Let's break down some fights. First up, Alex Perez, 9,200, taking on Mark De La Rosa at 7,000. Perez is minus 305, as Joe is going to refer to him, the husband of Montana De La Rosa. Mark De La Rosa is plus 275. To me, this comes down to which Perez are we going to get? The Perez who changed the life of Shorty Torres, or the Perez who got snuffed out by Joe Benavidez? And it's Mark De La Rosa. I thought he was way better than Joby Sanchez. He struggled last time out, did get a win. So kind of two guys, I don't know exactly which direction they're going. I think the line's a little wide. I do think Perez wins. Joe, do you have Perez or Mr. Montana De La Rosa?
Yeah, you pretty much summed it up. I mean, it's interesting, too, that De La Rosa and his wife actually fight at the same weight class. That's got to be interesting. But, yeah, I was not overly impressed with the split decision win over Joby Sanchez. I liked his debut, Mark De La Rosa. 24-year-old black belt is pretty impressive in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. However, I am going to give Perez the benefit of the doubt here and say that we get the Perez who changed Shorty Torres's life. With that said, this is a very interesting slate, and I want all of our millions of viewers currently in chat to research long and hard back to the early days of DraftKings DFS MMA and tell me, has there ever been a slate where every fighter priced at where none of the fighters priced $9K or higher are coming off a win in the UFC? You've got loss, you've got a draw, and you've got making a debut, but you've got no fighters coming off of UFC wins. So this is a really strange card in that respect. Perez is in that group. He's priced really high. You know, I might like him as much as anyone in that range. I'm going to pick him to win here, but I would preach caution.
Chris, how about for you?
Yeah, I guess you could be a little bit cautious, although I'm not really too worried about it. There's a world of difference between Joseph Benavidez and a guy like Mark De La Rosa. I mean, they do like to do some similar things in terms of their fighting style. Like De La Rosa is generally a pressure counter fighter, although I think Perez is probably going to end up leading the dance here. But he can still land some counter shots on Perez, and I expect him to. But I think the problem is for De La Rosa is he's way more flat-footed than a guy like Benavidez, and I think that he doesn't put his punches together quite as well either. So I think that Perez, he might have to eat a couple of shots along the way, but I think Perez is going to get a lot of joy out of his pressure combination boxing, and we've seen De La Rosa get hit a lot. We saw him get hit with some really hard shots in that Joby Sanchez fight. Joby Sanchez isn't really a combination puncher. Kind of harder to really get a guy rocked or finished. But yeah, I expect Perez to get going here. I also think he's just going to be the way stronger, more physical fighter that's going to help with the wrestling. So yeah, I really like Perez here, and I kind of think he gets a finish.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Sabina Mazo, 8,800, taking on Maryna Moroz at 7,400. Mazo minus 140, Moroz plus 130. Mazo 6-0, has a couple highlight reel head kick knockouts. Hype prospect Moroz. I mean, veteran is what you could say about her at this point. She's has not looked good in the UFC. I want to pull up her record real quick before I kick it over to you guys. It is 3-3. That's what I thought. So, but her best win is in 2015 win over Joanne Calderwood, Danielle Taylor, Christine Stanchu. Losses to Valerie Letourneau, Angela Hill, Carla Esparza. The Iron Lady, to me, I actually am picking her for an upset. This is an upset I like on this card. I think Mazo is a little overhyped. It's close. I just think people are down on Moroz. They're hyped up on Mazo. The line should be closer. The line is close throughout the week. Give me the veteran savvy of Moroz, but it's not something you need in tournaments at all. Chris, how do you have this fight?
Yeah, this is the first of two women's fighters, and we'll get to the second one, whose price doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as like a big favorite. The thing about Mazo is those back-to-back head kick knockouts. If you watch them, and they're both on YouTube, you can find them. They're a result of just their opponent backing straight, trying to back straight out of the pocket with their hands down. That's all there is to it. Like, it's not like she was taking over the fight. She wasn't. It was a very even fight. You could even say their opponents might have been winning up to that point. She's extremely low output, and she doesn't have much of an offensive game besides a kicking game. I never thought I'd say this about Maryna Moroz, but I actually expect her to be the volume striker of the two here.
That statement right there is why if you have to take a dump, save it for this fight.
Yeah, no, it's true. I just, you know, this has the makings of a really boring, like, winner gets 65 no matter what it is. But the one thing I kind of like about Moroz here is that Mazo puts herself in clinch positions a lot, and she doesn't really win there when she gets there. And the only way that Moroz gets her takedowns is to drag people to the ground. And I think Moroz can be a bit more physical here and maybe get this fight to the ground. So I think a sub is probably not out of the question, but the much more likely, I should say, outcome is, I think, Moroz by like a weak decision. So this is a big dog or pass fight for me. But yeah, my pick is the dog, Moroz. Joe,
a resident women's MMA expert, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, look, her last two fights were by decision. Including one over Sharon Ship, who's a 5-8 fight. Shannon Sin, sorry, who's a 5-8 fighter in in LFA. So those head kicks go 3 fights back. She's 6-0. She's 22 years old. Not a bad looker. Trains at Kings. Nickname is the Colombian Queen. Moroz has got the UFC experience. Has not looked great since that win against Jojo Calderwood. But I don't see her getting muscled here. I don't see one of these flashy head kicks knockout. She's got too much experience. Ukrainian fighter. I will also pick the upset. I don't think the ceiling is very high, but I will pick the upset. 7.4K is a much more attractive price. So I don't expect to have much exposure to this fight, but I will pick the upset here in Moroz.
God, we're all on the same page for that fight.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Something feels dirty. All right, let's move on to Ray Borg, 9,400, taking on Casey Kenney at 6,800. Borg missed weight today. He's still the favorite, -255. The comeback on Kenney, +235. I've seen a lot of love for Kenney. I was really high on Borg, and this missing weight thing has thrown me a little bit because he missed 135. I was telling, I do other podcasts, and I was telling our guy Marley that there's no way that Borg's not going to be focused just with what he's fighting for and the stuff going on with his son. I would think it would ultra motivate me as someone who has kids, and God forbid your kid was sick. That's just the mindset I get in. And then you miss weight and you go, oh, okay, exactly how focused was he? Because this is 135 now. So it's thrown me for a loop a little bit. I do think he's the better fighter. He's been in there with killers. He's got a win over Jussier Formiga. He should be the all-around better fighter. But at 9,400, Kenny's not bad. I think Borg he's relatively safe, but I don't think you need him. And also for GPPs, there's guys with higher ceilings on this card. So Borg's the pick. I just don't know how much I'm going to have now. Joe, start us off.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I mean, your first fight at a weight class 10 pounds up and, you miss weight. I mean, Michael Johnson and Ray Borg were the last 2 fighters to weigh in. Michael Johnson made weight, didn't look great, but then again, despite what anyone says, he's a natural 155 or 145 is, him trying to get out of a weight class of killers. Although I don't know if he maybe stepped out of the frying pan and into the fire. Hasn't fought in forever. Dolly bust glass to the eye incident. Personal life. Just kicking this poor guy's ass. And now he has to give up 30% of his purse, to his opponent, who's coming off a short notice. Two division title holder in LFA. I don't know, man. This is, if you're going to take a punt at a high-priced favorite, this might not be the worst direction to go in.
I have a hot take for a punt that I think everyone's been yelling at me for. So
on DraftKings, I mean, on paper he should score well and he should get grappling points and he should. His opponents were great. I mean, out-grappling Jussier Formiga. Now, that was not a high-scoring fight. It was more of a grapple fest. But, as good as Formiga looked against Devison Figueroa, you'd have to think that, 1-1 doesn't equal 3 here and that he's going to grapple fuck this guy. But I don't know, man. To me, this is a fight to be underexposed to. I don't hate taking a small shot with Kenney. Maybe if you want to, if you're not stacking, and you're looking for a lower-priced cash guy to play, maybe not the worst idea in the world. Throw a dart for GPPs. I'm going to pick Ray Borg because I just can't not pick him in this spot. But I'm like you. I would be cautious here, and I don't think you need him at his price tag.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with all the price tag stuff, but I actually like Borg quite a bit in this fight. I think there's a couple of major things that it comes down to me, and it's that one is that Kenney finds himself majorly flat-footed at certain points of the fight. Like he likes to plant his feet and throw, and I think that's going to give Borg a pretty easy avenue for takedowns. The other thing is, I think it goes out saying then that Borg will be the better mover in there. I expect him to be faster. But the other thing is that in both his Contender Series fights, Kenney got tired, and Borg doesn't get tired. So I think that Borg wins this fight pretty much everywhere. I've seen love for Kenney myself, and to Joe's point, I think that would make Borg for a decent contrarian pay up. But I mean, he doesn't really ever pay that off. I mean, I think he's done it. I was just looking. I think he's done it twice in his last UFC career. I think looking at this thing here, so it's kind of tough. I mean, we know that Borg's a scrambler. He can get he can get his transitions. He can get a sub. I like him here. I think he's gonna be able to do a lot of things his opponent won't be able to do. The price is the issue. Contrarian pay up, but Borg is the pick.
You're lucky because I was just about to type clock in our chat, but good job.
There you go.
Kevin Holland, 8,900, taking on Gerald, GM3, Meerschaert at 7,300. Kevin Holland is the favorite. He is minus 185. The comeback on Meerschaert, plus 170. I like this fight a ton for GPPs. Can't believe I'm going to say this because Chris tipped his hand earlier. I'm assuming he's picking Gerald Meerschaert. And I am picking Gerald Meerschaert.
GM3.
Now, that being said, I'm going to have a ton of both sides of this fight in GPPs, and I want no part of it for cash. But I think he's one of the more live dogs in the card. I think Kevin Holland has gotten a lot of hype from getting his shit pushed in against Thiago Santos. I just realized I'm on the RotoWire pod, so sorry, guys. But that's the way I've explained it in my head. This fight hits the ground. Meerschaert tears through him. There is every opportunity or every chance that Holland gets a knockout. I just think he's a tad overrated right now. I think the prices are off, and GPPs, I'm mixing in a good amount of Meerschaert here, and I think he's going to pull off the upset here. So give me GM3. Chris, you start us off here. Back me up.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, I am picking Meerschaert, but I kind of just meant in general. Like, I'm a fan of his because I think that he's a guy who deserved his shot kind of before he got it. So I was glad to see him get it in the UFC. But be that as it may, I like him here too. We know how dangerous a guy like Kevin Holland can be at range. His kicking game, the way he mixes up his kicks and punches. We saw him put on his full display of skills in that John Phillips fight. It was fun to watch. But the thing that kind of has me that has me picking Meerschaert is that he's going to just come forward constantly. He's going to flurry with strikes. He's got a pretty decent kicking game of his own, and he's going to go for takedowns. Now, Kevin Holland is not like a terrible grappler, but I don't see him on the level as a Gerald Meerschaert, and I'm also not putting a lot of stock into that Hermansson loss, which to me was just a really weird fight. He even said himself he just couldn't get going. I mean, there was a period in that fight where he got out and just jumped for a half-hearted guillotine when they were back to their feet. It was very strange. So I'm kind of throwing that result out. I think that we're starting fresh here. I like the pace that Meerschaert keeps. And look, he's a veteran, and the less experienced fighter is going to have to know how to deal with that kind of pressure. I think Meerschaert brings a lot of questions, and I think for the price and the grappling points and all that good stuff, I think he's very live here, and he's actually my pick. So there you go.
Yeah, we're taking a lot of heat here in chat.
As well, you should.
If Holland keeps it standing, he wins. There's a clear path to victory for Meerschaert, and if you disagree with me, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not locking it up. I'm not going crazy, but it's a solid GPP play. Who else other than Gaethje under 8,100 has got that kind of upside? And Paul Craig, but we'll talk about that.
Otto says he got wrecked by Hermansson. He got out-physicaled by Hermansson, who was a stronger guy than him.
And somebody else said that Holland's takedown defense would be too good. If anything, it's his movement. Holland was getting taken down by Thiago Santos, who doesn't go for takedowns. Yeah, I'm not totally dismissing Holland. He could score 100 too. I want both sides of this fight, but if they grapple at all, I think it's a problem. Joe, go ahead.
Hey, so let's let the voice of reason, kind of have his moment here. First of all, by the way, and on 3-9, Kevin Holland actually participated in and won a grappling contest. So it's obvious he's working on his grappling. I don't know that Meerschaert has got such a distinct advantage on the ground like you guys think he does. I think Holland is stronger, will outmuscle him, will outstrike him. I like him a fair bit here. I like him better than nearly every play in the 9K range. So I'll share with you guys what I have right now in Holland. I have like 8% Meerschaert and 38% Holland. So there you go. Kevin Holland. I
think you're missing GPP opportunity. I guess if you're super sure, GM3 is a kill or be killed guy. I think this is a great GP. This is a good both sides GPP fight, and I thought I could get you on board with that. If not, I guess we'll agree to disagree.
Just one last thing here. When John Phillips started walking him down, he was landing shots.
Don't even.
I just want that known.
Oh, Enrique,
I'm just saying, if you pressure him, you take away a lot of that.
If you keep bringing up John Phillips, I'm going to throw open this bucket. We're going to have to hit pause.
That'll be entertaining too.
No,
I'm going to leave the stream on for that. So you go ahead.
Don't do that. Enrique Barzola, 8,200, taking on Kevin Aguilar at 8,000. The line of this fight has been confusing to me all week. As of right now, Barzola, it's -115. Aguilar's +105. You've heard it time and time again if you listen to MMA and DraftKings podcast. Barzola's style is DraftKings gold. It's what we're looking for, those relentless type of grapplers, rinse and repeat. Aguilar 16-1. Good guy. I think Barzola still gets it done here. I will have Barzola. I think the line should be wider. Joe.
Yeah, this is like all on Aguilar's record. I'm not saying that he's a bad fighter, but like 16-1, I was shocked at this line. Barzola's got so much more experience. He's so much better a wrestler. Aguilar, gets taken down by his pillow at bedtime. This is a perfect matchup for him. Cardio is good. I wish he would fight more often. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of him. DraftKings gold. I mean, takedown points. I mean, his worst outing was, I think, 80 points. And priced at 8.2K. I mean, my only fear is he's going to be so highly owned that he's pretty much going to be a wash in almost every lineup. I can understand playing a few lineups with Aguilar. He has a ceiling. I don't see a floor. I see a ceiling for him. I will have a few shares of him. Where am I right now with Aguilar? Let's see. And this is Kevin, not Jessica. I am at 9%. Okay, so I do have a taste of him, but I love Barzola. Might be my favorite play on the slate.
Chris.
Remember when people were picking Brandon Davis to beat Barzola? That's fun.
Not me.
But,
no.
He was a popular dog in that fight. I remember that distinctly. But at any rate, yeah, the thing about Aguilar is that, I mean, like Joe said, he has no floor whatsoever. He's basically the ultimate counter fighter. He's just gonna wait for his opponent to walk in the range and try to counter. Now he's accurate and he's powerful, but he's got that like ultra counter fighter mentality where even in a spot where he had Rick Glenn hurt in the either the first round or the second round, he didn't go in for the kill. He just let him sort of shake it off. I believe it was the end of the first. He just let him sort of shake it off and let him keep fighting. I don't think that anything like that is good for DraftKings. I think like he basically needs a knockout to be good in GPPs. And Barzola, like you said, the wrestling if he gets his takedown game working, and he's gonna get a ton of points. He's not really a good striker, but he's got a lot of good range tools, a lot of teep kicks and side kicks he uses to keep the distance. He can do some body work. I saw somebody getting nervous because he said in a translated interview that he wants to try to knock Aguilar out. I hope he's just talking there. I suspect that he is. But, yeah, I like Barzola quite a bit. He's going to be really popular, but I'm not sure how you can fade it. I'm going to be on him.
Make sure I'm not on mute. I'm not. So now we can talk about our next fight, which is Desmond Green, 9,300, taking on Ross, the real deal, Pearson at 6,900. The elder statesman, Ross Pearson, plus 375. Desmond Green, minus 420. I will say I threw you a little bit of a curveball by calling him the elder statesman. I think he is a fine punt for cash. You don't need him in this week, but I don't hate it in terms of if I'm dumpster diving. I'm dumpster diving with Ross Pearson because I'm going to get 3 rounds. Desmond Green isn't a finisher to me, and he's a guy who has a nasty habit of fighting close. He raises or lowers the level of competition. He's like the New York Jets from 5 to 10 years ago, which I can say because I'm a Jet fan. So Pearson is still game. He's not quickly getting knocked out. So 3 rounds of striking, a punt, and what could be a close fight. I'm picking Desmond Green, but I think Pearson's a fine cash game punt. Chris, am I crazy?
No. I like Desmond here a lot. I think Pearson, the reason why, like, you're right that Desmond Green isn't a finisher. You're also right that he tends to fight to the pace of his opponent. But that might actually be a good thing here because Ross Pearson likes to bang and get in wars. And if he does do that, Green's going to be way faster. Pearson's going to have to contend with the length of Green. And I think that Green, if Pearson draws him into the firefight, which I think he could do, then I think Green has a chance to knock him out. But otherwise, you're right. This probably won't meet the requirements for GPPs, which should have a lot of people off it, which makes it a good contrarian punt. But in general, I think you're right that Green just scores too low. You can't count on him to get that big score, but I do think this is a matchup where if he's ever going to get a finish, it could be this time. So I'm taking Green.
Joe.
Yeah, so whenever has the highest priced fighter on the card and the second highest priced DraftKings salaried fighter been considered a contrarian play. And that's what you got here. I mean, all the talk is, fade Desmond Green. And I get it. I mean, he's not a great DraftKings fighter. I mean, he's not a guy that scores a lot of points. He fights to his competition. I get it. I mean, I don't really like Pearson at all here. I mean, I may have a couple of shares of him just, for diversification purposes. But, I like Green to get the win. I don't love him, obviously, for draft. Wow, I got more Pearson than I thought. I don't love him for DraftKings, but, I think you should have, if you're gonna multi-enter, you should have some shares of him just as a contrarian play because to Chris's point, this could be the fight where he gets the knockout. I mean, we know that Pearson will engage. He's a tough MF. He will engage. That's Green's game. I could now again, there's some narrative on Green too. He had that car accident where someone ended up dying. I don't know psychologically how that might have affected him. In any case, I'm going to pick Green for the win here. Yeah, have a couple of shares of Pearson if you like. I don't really expect much from him, but have a share or two. But Green for the win.
Marina Rodriguez 9,100 taking on Jessica Aguilar at 7,100. Rodriguez minus 315, Aguilar plus 285. I like Rodriguez pretty solidly in this fight. Again, it's a ceiling issue, women's fight. She's going to want to strike. Aguilar's clearly on the decline. I think she's a pretty safe pick. Worried about the ceiling, but I like Rodriguez. Joe, any love for the elder statesman?
I like Rodriguez more than I like Mazo. I mean,
easy.
Again, that draw against Marcos looks fairly good right now. My concern. Well, Aguilar absorbs a lot of strikes, which I like. I was extremely disappointed with Aguilar against Wiley Zhang. I can't believe she got submitted a black belt. She got submitted by a blue belt or a purple belt. And she just looks so horrible. I'm shocked she got another fight. Trains at a good camp. I guess anything can happen if she gets the fight to the ground. This seems to be a showcase fight for the Brazilian, who's 10-1. Or 10-0-1. I can't remember her record. They probably want to use her on the card in Brazil if she doesn't take any damage here. I am on Rodriguez here. I just don't know how to play her. If you look at the volume of significant strikes that Aguilar has taken of late, even if you don't get grappling points and this fight goes the distance, you could get a fair number of striking points here. She's just a little too high priced, to make that work in GPPs. I see her as relatively safe in cash, and I actually considered playing her myself in cash. I ended up going in another direction, but I don't think it's the worst play in the world to use her in cash. She's just, really high priced. But my pick is going to be Rodriguez.
Yeah, by the way, she got another fight because Alexa Grasso pulled out of this one. So
right.
Trying to probably keep from getting the old UFC pink slip. Chris.
All right, so I have a solution for you for how to play this fight.
All right.
Aguilar. because
you're out of your mind.
But this is the other fight where her price does not make any sense.
It makes perfect sense. She just got destroyed by Weili Zhang.
It doesn't make any. Weili Zhang she got out muscled by a grappler who was way stronger than her. That's so much different than what she's gonna have here. The thing about what is her name? Rodriguez is she is another like low volume Muay Thai kickboxer who was getting in that fight against I can't remember anybody's name.
Come on, dude.
Brandon Marcos. In that fight against Brandon Marcos, she was getting forced into the clinch a lot, and that's how Marcos got her takedown, was to drag her down. And in fact, she had her in mount in the first round of that fight. The reason why I didn't like Marcos before is because she in the Angela Hill fight, one of the reasons is she doesn't really stick to her wrestling, but that's another thing. I think that Aguilar will. I think that Aguilar will make a dirty fight, and I think she's good at that kind of fight. And I think Marcos was really thriving in that fight, landing a lot of dirty boxing, like uppercuts from the clinch and things. She's got good leg kicks, Rodriguez, good kicks in general, but I don't know. I really just don't see it. I think the veteran can just make this a dirty fight, get some takedowns, and win a decision. I honestly don't know what you guys are expecting from Rodriguez. Like, do you think that she's going to knock her out, or you think she's just going to land a million strikes all of a sudden? Like
million strikes.
Yeah, a lot of strikes.
She's not.
She's a higher volume fighter than.
She's not a high volume striker.
She got 60 strikes off against Marcos in basically 2 rounds.
That's because Marcos forces the fight.
And Aguilar's not going to do the same.
Aguilar is so easy to get hit. Chris, just before you embarrass yourself any further.
Okay. Let's personally bet on this fight then.
No. Go to Fight Metrics and look at how many strikes Aguilar has absorbed.
No, I understand, but that's the last fight against Marcos is somebody who comes forward and throws. She's not. Aguilar is going to
come forward and not throw.
What?
She's going to come forward and not throw. She's going to try and get a clinch, and she's going to get hit.
But she's not going to. But Marcos was winning in the clinch decisively, and Aguilar lives there. Aguilar works in the clinch.
So Marcos is better than Aguilar.
Of course she is, but it's the same kind of fight.
But at a lower level. That's my
Chris. Chris.
So I get his point that Marcos had success in the clinch, so why can't Aguilar? But where I think you're missing, my opinion, is that Marcos is way better than Aguilar, and it won't translate here. So I get your point to it now. I just disagree with it. And that being said, we'll talk about Sodiq Yusuff at 8,700 taking on Sheymon Moraes at 7,500. Sheymon Moraes, a guy who just keeps.
Sean, before you do that, do you know that Jody Esquibel landed 81 strikes against Jessica Aguilar? Courtney Casey, 103 strikes. Claudia Gadelha, 111 strikes.
Claudia Gadelha is the one we're going back to?
No, come on. Let's go Courtney Casey. Not exactly a prolific striker here. 103 strikes. Jody Esquibel, come on. I mean, she gets knocked out by her.
Okay, I need 93 strikes. What's it going to do for you at 94?
All right.
Oh, God, Chris.
Break. I really wish Chris was going to this card.
Me too.
I cannot wait for this. Make sure you're on Twitter after this fight.
I will.
I wish you were going so I could have somebody just periscope you guys sitting next to I would pay $5 for that periscope.
I invite Chris all the time. He always turns me down. He doesn't like to attend fights live.
I don't. That's absolutely true. I like to take a nap after they're over.
Yeah, he can't. I mean, it's his mom doesn't let him out. I mean,
all right. Break it.
I'm actually chained to a sewer pipe as we
break it up, children. Oh God. I think we have a break after this card.
Nice. We got a week off, so we're good.
I know. That's why I'm getting it all out now.
Yusuff is minus 135. The line has closed quite a bit here. Sheymon Moraes. It's probably about where this should have been lined in the first place. Now you guys throw me totally off. Moraes is plus 125. Chris Moraes is a low volume striker.
He is that. Yeah.
Yusuff is going to press forward. I think Yusuff, the pressure will get to Moraes. I actually think this fight scores pretty well if Yusuff wins. I think he's the real deal. It's kind of, are you a believer? in Sodiq Yusuff. Chris, are you a believer in Sodiq?
I am, but maybe not for this matchup. And the reason I say that is because Sodiq is, as you said, a good come-forward striker, really athletic, throws in combination, but he tends to swing a little wild. And when he gets pressured, he tends to. I actually said it in my last review for him, which I soundly picked him. But I did say that he sort of has that Thiago Santos striking defense where if you pressure him, he just tries to sort of wing hooks to scare you away. And Sheymon Moraes is a good, accurate counterpuncher. Pressure countering is his game. As you said, he's a low-volume striker. Knocked down Julio Arce with 2 really well-timed counters in their fight, and I think he's going to get his opportunity to counter here. I think that you're right. I think that Sodiq is going to pour on the pressure, but I think that falls into Sheymon's game. I think that Sodiq is a guy who looks to get his opponents out of there quickly. I don't think that's going to happen with a guy like Moraes, and I wonder where we're going to be at when it doesn't happen. So I understand all the love for Yusuff. Of course, he can obviously overwhelm and maybe even land one big shot and take Moraes out here. But I think Moraes is plenty live because I think a powerful counter striker and an educated one at that is going to be a big test for Yusuff. So it's an interesting fight.
Joe.
Yeah, so, look, I think this is all ceiling no floor here for Yusuff. I like him a bit. I mean, let's be honest. Suman Trash Can, I'm sorry, Motraki, you know what I'm talking about.
Mokhtarian.
Mokhtarian, the Trash Can's brother. A round 1 knockout of him is not overly impressive. You can argue that his most impressive fight was the decision against Mike Davis. But, look at who he fought prior to that. I mean, he is like 18 months removed from getting nuked in the first round by Luis Gomez. Yes, that Luis Gomez, the one that none of us know, who was at the time 22 years old in a Titan fight. So he is very raw.
I was gonna say, what do you mean that Luis Gomez?
I know. Exactly.
He was
Luis Gomez. Yeah. I should have had a pause. Dylan Tuque. He's got a win against. By the way, if you wanna look at, he's got one of the best profile photos on Tapology. Dylan Tuque or Tuque. So he has not exactly been fighting the best of the best, even on the regional scene. He's a Lloyd Irvin fighter. I know everybody has some opinions on Lloyd Irvin as a trainer.
You should have an opinion on Lloyd
Irvin. Very strong opinions. Yeah.
So, okay. So, be that what it may. Again, I think this is a pure GPP play. I would not play him in cash. He's definitely got upside here. Moraes has done what, look, UFC didn't do him any favors throwing him in against Zabit. Didn't look horrible against Zabit. Beat Sales, who was the Dominic Cruz, protege teammate. And they talked him up as much as they could and still couldn't get him the decision. And then, outboxing Julio Arce, who is a Golden Gloves boxer, Tiger Muay Thai, was very, very impressive. So, look, this could be a boring, low-volume decision, or, he could come out and get nuked. I don't see him getting nuked, which is why I'd plead caution. I'd look at this as a GPP fight. I will tentatively pick Yusuff here. Not high level of confidence, just because I think Moraes is being disrespected here. I think the line is a bit wide. But, I'll go with Yusuff. But, again, all ceiling, no floor.
Right, let's keep on moving here. We have Kennedy Nzechukwu, 9,000, taking on Paul Craig at 7,200. Nzechukwu, minus 165. Paul Craig, plus 155. Does not go to decision, minus 260. Does not go to decision, minus 260. I've already seen people talking about it in chat. It's not that I'm picking Paul Craig. I'm going, my lineups that don't have Kennedy Nzechukwu will have Paul Craig. I think Paul Craig is bad, just like you guys, but you're playing GPP. You're looking at guys who can end up on the optimal lineup in a win. Nzechukwu is still a newcomer to the UFC, and if this fight hits the mat, Paul Craig will submit him. But Paul Craig's wrestling offense is trash, and just like against Khalil Roundtree, he's going to wade in face first and get knocked out. is how I think this fight's going to go. Give me Nzechukwu. Joe.
Yeah, this guy is very raw. I mean, 6'5", 83-inch reach. Has not exactly been fighting the best of the best. Has looked impressive recently. Nice first-round knockout on Dana White's Contender Series against Dennis Bryant. He was a minus 600 favorite, though, so I discount that a bit. He's raw. This guy is very raw. I mean, I think Paul Craig, as always, is brought in to lose, to be somewhat of a gatekeeper. I do think this fight is going to be very highly targeted due to the inside the distance prop. I'm not going to have 100% exposure to this fight. I'm probably going to be under whatever the ownership is on Craig. I will have ownership of Kennedy. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. Where am I now? Kennedy.
Nzechukwu.
Yeah, Nzechukwu. Okay, yeah, I've got a significant percentage of him. He's not going to be my highest owned guy, but because of the inside the distance prop, you do have to have exposure to this fight. Where am I at, Craig? 8%. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to use this fight 100%, but I do think it's going to be highly targeted because of the inside the distance prop. I will pick Mr. Kennedy to win the fight, though.
Chris.
I don't know. I guess I'm picking Kennedy too. My problem with him is that he's one of these guys that just you would call him a pressure counter striker, except he doesn't really counter strike. He doesn't really throw a lot of strikes, period. He's one of these guys who looks like, to me, he's always trying to line up the one big shot. He kind of reminds me of Darren Till in that way, where he's got all these physical advantages and you're like, all right, just go, but he really doesn't. I mean, that's why he fought to a split in his first Contender Series fight. His second one, he was fighting a guy that he was 5 inches taller than. That might be a little bit of exaggeration, but maybe 3 to 5 inches taller than. And he just caught him with a head kick, and that was the end of the fight. So his inactivity kind of worries me. And the thing that I like about Craig is that we're seeing this from a lot of fighters recently who don't really wrestle. We saw it with Brian Ortega in the Max Holloway fight. These guys, I think, are getting the picture that they can't be pure jiu-jitsu fighters who don't wrestle. It just doesn't work. And to that end, we've seen more takedowns and more takedown attempts from Craig in recent fights where we didn't when he first came into the UFC, and he was just getting slaughtered. Sure, he got out grappled by who was that? Kai Kara France, but this shouldn't be a problem here. I don't think. I think if this goes to the ground, it's Paul Craig's fight. And look, for that reason, and for the low volume of Kennedy, I'm not going to attempt to say the last name, but Kennedy.
Babies. Nzechukwu. Come on.
Nzechukwu. There you go.
Wait, where did Kai Kara France is like a flyweight? How did he come in?
I knew I had the name wrong, but I just couldn't.
Oh, okay.
I'll actually look right now. It was Jimmy Crute is who it was.
Okay, there you go.
Confused.
Australia, same part of the world.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, I'm gonna have Craig here. I think just because I like him, and this is something I never thought I'd say about Craig. I think I like him to take control of the fight better than Nzechukwu does. So I think I'm gonna give I think in the beginning,
Paul Craig straight up.
In the beginning, I said Nzechukwu. I'll go with Nzechukwu just because he's way more.
Oh God,
way better. He's more athletic.
Way more athletic, way more powerful. So I'll go with him. Craig's live. Let's say that.
Yeah, Fortis MMA, good camp.
Okay.
I just don't want to have a riot here. All right, let's talk about Karolina Kowalkiewicz, 8,600. Michelle Waterson, 7,600. Line on this fight. Kowalkiewicz at minus 140. Waterson plus 130. Auto is all about Michelle Waterson. I am all about Michelle Waterson in this fight. There's some intangibles that I'll let Joe talk about in a minute. Mostly. Actually, no, I'm going to go with them because somebody else.
Yeah, talk about the intangibles because I might not know them.
Not so much intangibles. Sorry, narrative is what I meant. Narrative being Kowalkiewicz had her life changed at 115. I think you don't see knockouts like Jessica Andrade knocked out Kowalkiewicz. You just don't see it. You have to worry about that. Then there's this interview floating around that Kowalkiewicz doesn't want to hurt Michelle Waterson. Does she know she's in a fight? she's going to be locked in a cage with her. The pressure striking of Kowalkiewicz actually plays into the favor of Waterson in the karate style and the counter striking. And if anybody's going to take this fight to the ground, I think it's Waterson, where she has a pretty good advantage and is live to a submission. 7,600, sign me up for Michelle Waterson and picking her to win straight. I have a bet on her as well. I think there's value there. I mean, it's one of those. I don't know how great the ceiling is unless she gets that sub, but I'll take Waterson. Joe, people in chat want to know what you think of her decision about going blonde and how that's going to affect the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I think KK has got dark hair now, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, look. These
Kowalkiewicz doesn't do it for me.
Again, these are two of the hotter fighters in the UFC. I mean, again,
yeah.
I think you could make the same argument about the corners, Vaselining themselves up.
You've used that joke so many times.
I
know you broke Newsom.
I know Newsom really liked it, but he never heard it before. Yeah, for those of you who don't get the reference, I actually guested on the Newsom MMA pod. That was a lot of fun early in the week, which was unique for me because I'm usually an end of the week pod kind of guy. So I really had to get my act together to keep up with Newsom. But I actually, on that pod, I picked KK. I leaned to KK. Now, I will say that the Chick Whisperer 2.0, aka Automatic 23, kind of pushed me a little bit over the edge on Michelle Waterson, and really not for any narrative. There is some additional narrative too, that these women are actually pretty good friends. I mean, there's a lot of photo ops of them together. I think KK even came out and said as much, Michelle being her idol. If this was prior to the Jessica Andrade beatdown, I would probably be more on KK. I mean, she is done very well against better competition. She has a win over Rose Namajunas. The first UFC event I ever attended, Orlando in 2015, KK made her debut and looked just like unbelievably calm. I think she beat Randa Marcos in that fight. Did she? Yeah, I think she beat Randa Marcos in that fight. So again, I think, although I've liked the look of Michelle Waterson recently, she's definitely packed some muscle on. She does those judo throw takedowns, even though she is the karate hottie. Otto has kind of pushed me over the fence on Michelle Waterson. It's not a super confident pick. I certainly think that KK can win here. If there's value in Waterson at 7.6K, I will not have a lot of KK at her price range. I think Waterson could be a decent play in cash. I don't necessarily see her getting finished. So I see her floor is pretty decent. I don't know how high her ceiling is. I will pick Waterson. It's not a super confident pick. This is a fight I'm going to enjoy the optics of, but give me Waterson here.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm taking Kowalkiewicz. And look,
I get it.
There may be something to said where I just don't like Michelle Waterson as a fighter. It's on the feet. It's all like those distance kicks that get her out of position. And then it's, as Joe mentioned, the judo throws on the ground. Look, to her credit, she tends to get at least one takedown every fight. But I just can't trust it. I just can't trust that because she's the smaller fighter in basically all of these fights. I just can't trust that a takedown like that relies on physicality because you're basically giving your opponent your back, it can just come through. And I like Kowalkiewicz to walk her down, cut off the cage, and sort of just bomb on her. I don't think a finish or a high volume decision is out of the question here. I just can't. I don't like Waterson's stand-up game, and I don't trust her takedown game enough for her to get it to the mat. If she does get it to the mat, she's probably going to have her own way. She's a very good grappler, and we've seen Kowalkiewicz sort of look lost on the mat, but I think this stays standing, and I'm giving it to Kowalkiewicz.
Wow, Automatic just sent me a photo of a Chris Olsen voodoo doll. Wow, it's very lifelike too.
Yeah,
I'll have to tweet that out. Thank you, Otto.
Michael Johnson, 8,400, taking on Josh Emmett at 7,800. Johnson minus 115. He almost missed weight today. Did make it. Emmett plus 105. So we have odds value here on Josh Emmett. Slight odds value. I know I did listen to the Newsom MMA pod, and Joe is all about Josh Emmett, and Newsom is all about Michael Johnson. Joe, I'm with Newsom on this one. Emmett is a 135er who knocked out Ricardo Lamas, and I'm adamant that I think that was the worst thing that could have happened to him. He should be at bantamweight. His Twitter handle was like JEmmett135. The guy, but he gets this knockout and he gets ranked, and now he's going to stay there. You got a lightweight coming down to featherweight, plus all the injury stuff from Emmett. I lean towards Michael Johnson. I will say what I'm worried about is the takedowns of Josh Emmett. If he chooses to go there and can time a shot well, he is live in this fight. A little bit of odds value. I don't think it's not a fight I want to be all in on because Justin Gaethje's $100 less than Josh Emmett, who we'll talk about in a little while. So give me Michael Johnson. I think the striking will be too much against Josh Emmett. Well, Emmett is live for sure. We'll start with Chris for this one.
Yeah, Michael Johnson has just been increasingly proving to me that it just seems like he keeps falling further and further out of the top fighters in that division with every fight. I mean, he had a competitive first round with Artem Lobov that Lobov arguably won just because he marched him down and he just started throwing his shots. And look, Artem Lobov is not the mover that Josh Emmett is. He's not going to be bouncing around in there like Josh Emmett is. I think Emmett's going to be able to find his strikes, and Emmett's a powerful striker. He's got granted he had 4 in one of them, so it kind of skews it. But still, 6 knockdowns in his last 3 fights. I mean, there's nothing to sneeze at there. We know the guy's got power. Michael Johnson has some power himself. I think Michael Johnson's speed isn't going to play as much here. I think Emmett is going to be plenty fast, and I think he's a smarter striker the way he selects his shots. And like you said, Sean, the wrestling is going to be in the back pocket if he wants it. We haven't seen him use it a ton. I think he's got like 1 takedown in his last 3-4 fights or something, but it is there for him. He can mix it up if he wants to. I just see him at a certain point sort of throwing too much at Michael Johnson and kind of overwhelming him. So I'm taking him probably for a decision win here.
All right, Joe, get everybody along.
Yeah, I think I must have misheard you because Josh Emmett has never fought at 135.
Am I thinking?
Did you say he's going back to high school? He's never fought at 135. He was a lightweight who went down to 145.
Well, whose Twitter handle were you thinking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait. Am I thinking of who the hell am I thinking? I gotta pull it up.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that I was like, wait a second, did he say bantamweight? He's never. I mean, he missed weight against Lamas. I mean, he's never fought
who
that
the hell
low.
Am I thinking of?
Yeah, somebody else. But anyway, for all the reasons that Chris just mentioned, look, I honestly believe that was an illegal blow that he took against, Jeremy Stephens. It's unfortunate because I had him winning that fight. He took the time off. Here's the other bit of narrative. 2 of Michael Johnson's losses are alpha male teammates of recent losses. Are alpha male. No, I'm sorry. One split decision win, 1 loss. Feely, he won split decision. Many people thought Feely won that fight. He got nuked by Elkins. They're both teammates of Emmett. I have to believe that whatever Michael Johnson might have can be replicated at Team Alpha Male. I am going to give Emmett a shot here. I like the value. I like the odds value. I like the price. I liked him initially. I like him now. Give me Josh Emmett here as a dog.
I got to find out what I was thinking of. I might have had that reversed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jack Hermansson, 8,300, taking on David Branch at 7,900. David Branch, guy who just got knocked out by Jared Cannonier, cost me a fair amount of money on that one. Cannonier in shape now. So anyway, David Branch, not a good DraftKings score even when he wins. Hermansson, I really like as a prospect. Obviously tough. Dude's got a black belt. He's sweeping Talas Lati's from the bottom, which is no joke. Has good volume in this fight. I like Hermansson. Joe, 8,300?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's DraftKings gold, Hermansson. I mean, although Hermansson is another guy with no floor, in his losses. He got 143 points. I don't know how he got 9 advances against Meerschaert. 81 against Lati's in a fight that he was getting pieced up. Brad Scott, 120 points. But again, his losses are ugly. I mean, 113 against Nicholson, 7 points against Ferrer, 3 points against Santos. Look. I mean, if we're looking at MMA math, it's got to be Branch, right? I mean, Branch knocked out Santos in Atlantic City. It's interesting because I in DraftKings, I have more of Hermansson, but I'm going to actually pick Branch to win. I like the price. I think that he has fought better competition. I am concerned about his age. I am concerned about his cardio. A year ago, I would have been a lot more confident in Branch, winning this fight. I don't see Branch getting, lit up by ladies. Hermansson obviously nuked Meerschaert, who, again, I'm not overly super high on. So give me David Branch here, but this is a great fight to target because if Hermansson wins, in GPPs, I would not touch this fight in cash. He is going to score. And I think also Branch will score. Even though it doesn't show on his record, I think he will score because Hermansson is that kind of fighter that you could score against.
I disagree with you in that I think Hermansson is fine in cash because I don't see Branch starching him quickly. He knocked out a really, a Thiago Santos who's cutting to 185 and refused to keep his hands up.
Wait.
Yes, absolutely.
Who else was knocking out Thiago Santos? The answer is nobody. Gegard Mousasi. That's it.
Yep.
Nobody's knocking him out. Like that win is just continues to keep getting better and better and better. But go ahead.
It's a fluky win. It's an MMA win. Yes, he has it. I still overall MMA is going to happen. Yeah, but overall is Branch a guy who's going to start you quickly? No.
I would agree with that. I mean,
I think Hermansson's fine in cash.
I would say results not typical. Here's my take on the fight. The Jared Cannonier fight just confused me. I thought that Branch could have outboxed him in his sleep if he wanted to. Instead, he goes for like a million takedowns. Cannonier's a little better on the ground than he thought, gets himself tired, and gets himself caught. But I actually like Branch quite a bit here, with the exception of Latis, who I would say gassed in that fight himself. Basically, the guys that Hermansson beats, he overpowers with grappling, and he's not going to be able to do that to David Branch.
Agreed.
Branch is a high-level black belt, and Hermansson's another one of these guys who, if you walk him down, you can take away a lot of his offense, and I think that's what David Branch is going to do. That's what David Branch likes to do. He's a very good pocket boxer. I hope he doesn't just come right in and go for the takedown. What I suspect is that was a short-notice fight, so Branch thought he just wanted to end it quickly. Or at least I hope that's what was going on. But if Branch just works his game, he's got a nice solid jab. He can throw in combination, and he can mix in that wrestling, and he's got his ground skills. I think that the only thing that Hermansson might have here is strength, but I don't think that's going to matter on the ground because I think the skill level is going to be in Branch's favor. So I like Branch pretty much everywhere here, and I'm taking him for the win. I think he's a good dog.
I think you're underestimating the ground skills of Jack Hermansson, but we'll move on. Anybody who can sweep Thales Latis, like, dude's legit on the ground. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Okay, well.
Edson Barboza, 8,500, taking on Justin Gaethje at 7,700. Barboza minus 125, Gaethje plus 115. All right, guys, I'm going to give the fight breakdown for this one. You are going to tell us how to play it on DraftKings. I don't want to rehash the fight breakdown 3 times.
Makes sense.
Barboza kicks super friggin' hard. Gaethje presses forward all the time. He has wrestling in his pocket that he'll never use, but it's there. Gaethje blocks punches with his face. Can Barboza knock out Gaethje before the pressure of Gaethje gets to him? It's like minus 500 to end inside the distance. Now, DraftKings-wise, for me, to stack in cash, play both sides, I lean Gaethje. But outside of the fight breakdown, Chris, how are you approaching it for DraftKings?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to say one thing, which is because I think I have a secret. And I think my secret is that, because everybody thinks that it's just pressure with Barboza, and that's part of it, get him tired, get him backing up. But most of the time, to beat Barboza, there's a wrestling component. Think about Think about Habib. Think about what Beneil Dariush was doing. Think about Kevin Lee. If you watch that Ferguson fight back, Barboza was actually doing really well when he was put on the back foot. He was countering well. He was doing great body work, which I think is really going to come into play here. Also, I would say that Gaethje's not quite a guy who's just going to run you down. He's going to back you up and sort of work from there. But I don't think he's going to be like on his horse backing you up in the same way a Habib or Tony Ferguson was. Okay, so having said that, my way to play this is basically the way everybody's playing it, I guess. I think the stack is plenty live. I think they're both tough enough that there's not going to be any quick finishes here. So I think whoever wins, it's going to be a brutal, grueling war. So the stack is live, and basically any other way you want to play it is live, except for the fact that if you're just picking a winner, I like Barboza here because I just think that he's way too hittable. I think that his game works to a certain extent, and it doesn't work anymore. Like, you got to understand, like, when we talk about Gaethje as a guy who always would get hurt and never got finished, well, he wasn't facing the caliber of finishers that he is now. Now when he gets hurt in 2 of the 3 fights where he got really hurt, he got finished. So we can't bank on him just coming through those shots anymore. And the other thing you have to say is that eventually his chin is just going to explode. It's going to happen. We don't know when. We can't say when, but eventually it's going to happen. So, yeah, the stack is plenty live, but I'm taking Barboza here.
Joe.
Yeah, so first of all, wow, I agree with pretty much everything Chris just said. The way to play this fight on DraftKings is to have 95% exposure to it.
That's it.
In mass entry GPPs. If it's not obvious, I happen to like Barboza. I'm going to say Barboza by body shot knockout in the 3rd to 4th round. Look, I think you have to have a lot of exposure to this fight. It pains me to say that I do feel that this fight is stackable in cash, but it's not a secret. I think it's essentially going to be a wash in cash, meaning that so many people are going to have this. It's going to come down to your other 4 fighters. So go ahead and stack it, but just realize it's probably not going to be meaningful to your lineup relative to outcome, simply because everybody's going to have it, and it's going to come down to your other 4 fighters. So go ahead and stack it in cash, but you better make sure that you get your other 4 fighters in, because everybody is going to stack this. So 95% exposure. I'm picking Barboza to win by knockout.
All right, guys, let's do some hot takes before we get out of here. My hot take, Gerald Meerschaert by submission.
Okay, my hot take, Josh Emmett wins inside the distance plus 320. Josh Emmett by TKO, KO plus 515. Bet it.
I have a parlay hot take.
Ooh.
If you guys would like it.
Sure.
So I am, my hot take is in this order: Moroz wins, then Aguilar wins, then Moraes wins.
Wow. That's going to be a nice parlay.
Yeah, put anybody, if you want, put $5 on that. Just, send me 20% or something.
There you go.
Why don't you just get it? Anyway.
Yes.
All right, guys. We will have a week off. Hope you enjoyed. Please, if you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe. Follow all of us on Twitter. I won't read them again. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the violence on Saturday and enjoy the week off. We'll see you next time.
Yep.